What's going on, everybody, and welcome for some more EGFC CSGO action. I know there's a lot of letters in there, but trust me, we're gonna have a great time whether you understood it or not. I am Septilins, joined by Viking. We're going to be jumping into our second game of the evening, Siena College versus University of South Alabama. But before we get into all of that, just in case you're new, I'm super sick. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. I'm probably going to sniffle, and I'm probably going to sneeze. I'm just going to have to ask you guys to bear with me. Thank you. I love you all, but okay, get that out of the way, Tyler. Let's hear about it. Siena and USA, what do we got?
This is a new matchup in terms of games that we've seen. The first time that these two schools are going to be playing against one another. Both of them currently in a position where they have not won a map yet. So the good news is one of these two teams is going to walk away with at least one win to their name today. And hopefully a good map differential. The cool thing about that is I think this gives an opportunity for the teams to try some new things out. They don't have to worry about going up against some of the titaness elements of what we find in a Marquette or a Colorado or a DePaul at this point, and really just trying to establish themselves as somebody that can fight for the mid tier, which is going to be super important as we think about what goes into the spring split and then ultimately the conference championships and playoffs. So we're excited to see where this goes. We're not getting into conference matches yet, so they still have plenty of time to practice and get into a position where they'll kind of fight for that seeding later on, coming up in February. But excited to see where they go for this. We're going to start out on Vertigo, which is USA's choice. We've seen them play before and do pretty well on that map. And then we'll have Siena's choice, which was Overpass. So two maps that have a lot of really cool items to it, and we're almost ready to get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. In Siena, I'm super curious to see if I'm not mistaken, was it Siena that lost to Marquette last week? Is that who that was? I
Let
don't
me check.
I don't remember, but I
Week
believe
two.
whether it's Marquette or not, I believe Siena had a very difficult opponent last week. I don't
Yes,
remember exactly which team it was, but
Marquette, 2 to
yeah, okay, so it
16
was
both
Marquette.
maps.
Perfect. Yeah, so we can see kind of how that was laid out there. I don't remember USA's score, but I'm thinking Siena, they showed signs of life a couple of times here and there. Maybe they're able to pick it up a lot more against a team that is a little more on par with them in their ranking, right? So I want to see if USA is going to be kind of the thorn in the side of Siena the same way that Marquette was last week, or is this Siena's time to shine here on Ver?
Yes, and we'll see Sienna starting out on the terrorist side, immediately going for that A side aggression, really trying to set the tone for just do it fast, do it violent, and get the bomb down, and hopefully ultimately take a W. Seeing some of those basic executes, seeing some great moments here. And as we're thinking about how this round's going to play out, we'll see Mikey Metz probably making a pretty big impact along with Soju and probably some cool stuff from Loki, who's generally been the hero of the games that they have played.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Loki, a name that I remembered as soon as I saw it on screen. I was like, oh, that's Siena, right? Because Loki definitely made an impact last time around. But University of South Alabama, I didn't realize I've seen this team, enough to recognize all these names as well. Now that I kind of have a bit of a better understanding, you think I would have looked at the rosters beforehand, but I'm sick. That's my excuse at least. These teams coming through strong. Siena, the bomb has been planted, but they might just really be able to turn this one around. USA, they had, I think it was 3-2 at one point, and then after a couple lucky bullets from Siena, they might be able to just clutch this one out.
Yeah, the benefit
There it
being,
is.
unfortunately, not going his way in terms of HP, but he did have a kit. He did have an opportunity there, and what we've seen from USA in the past is Tiny T, especially, has been a huge impact player for the different rounds where they have seen some of that, albeit limited success. But certainly, as
Yeah,
we've talked about, going up against some of these powerhouse teams that have taken the top of the charts. They have put up some respectable numbers and respectable fights in quite rounds. And, as we know, score lines don't always tell the full story. So this is another opportunity for us to again see where some of these differentiators are coming from, and we're going to see that right now as we see SMG just mowing down the side of USA as they desperately try to take one person off of the map on the side of Siena.
this has been okay. That may have. I'm gonna start getting a stopwatch for some of these rounds. I swear that may have been the fastest run we've seen today. We saw a couple pretty speedy ones from Marquette, but some great action there from Siena. They're already up 2-0, and it's good that that round was quick because again, I say this every time. Mathematically, statistically, they're expected to win that second round relatively for free. But coming into round 3 here, this is where USA gets to show relative signs of life. We're gonna have to see if they can win just that firefight matchup.
And we see that aggression from Siena coming out again, just trying to really nail down the pace of what they want to see. seeing the similar executes, just mowing down people with the Bison, really making use of the funds that they have and trying to get as much economy on the board as possible. So they take down the PCO into Crispy, take down Tiny T, one of the impact players, and Soju and Xboth able to answer that with 2 kills. But ultimately, they still have a long road ahead of them with a bomb down and 2 players with not as much health as they'd like on the side of the T's.
Really good molly there. Found some damage on the Xboth, and that really helped out a lot. It's going to be Soju, that sole survivor, that player of the moment here. We're going to have to see if they can pick up this kill. They do not have the health advantage, not by a country mile. Hear the grenade coming out. We might see some action here with the smoke. Could use that to rotate around. However, I feel like Siena, Wizark, and Mike Metz here, they are just in good enough positions where there's no safe way to engage. There's no safe way to goes for the fake. The fake defuse does not find it. Siena going to put that 3rd round away. Like I said, you know, last week was a tough one. You were fighting Marquette, punching above your belt, but now they're punching at their own level. Siena is starting strong.
I love the way that they came out and just made a statement the way that they have. They're not taking any moments to breathe. They're just saying, we're going to show South Alabama exactly what we're all about. We're going to show that aim. And I appreciate that we're seeing that aggression from both sides, because USA, again, coming here to answer early in the round, although they get the information and immediately turn an about face. And at this point, you know, with so little money on the side of USA as they, or sorry, equipment on the side of USA as they go to save, their goal here is just try to take as many guns out of the hands as Siena as possible and make that excuse me, 5th round just a little bit more expensive.
Losing Wizark early here is going to hurt. Wizark seems to have been kind of that that last stand player, so to speak. Somebody that really has been one of the last 2 left alive every round so far. Losing them early, it's not going to hurt here. However, though, is USA, they're already down, already gone. The PCO's the sole survivor, might be able to make a little bit of impact, or maybe, yeah, okay, does find Mike Metz, so a good kill. You just got to do that. Okay, 1, you just got to do it 2 more times. I've got faith in the PCO. If anybody's going to do it, it's going to be them. Some great action so far. The molly on bomb. I'll never understand how that doesn't just blow up the C4 right away, but it's a video game. I get it. Those things can't happen. But now, Chewy, Milk, and Low Key, I think they've done the work. The molly on site was just enough to give them confidence to walk away.
I really appreciate that effort from the PCO at the end to, again, the goal, right? Make it expensive.
Yep.
Great kills there, able to make a little bit of a statement on the side of USA, show that they're not just going to be simply rolled over and that they can't just, you know, do whatever they want as Siena rolls into these different sites. So far, obviously, we've seen Siena favoring the A site really heavily, lots of aggression. But now that we have a better buy on the side of USA in terms of rifles, and now the op coming out for Tiny T, which could be a huge game changer, we'll see if they're able to change that up a little bit. But right now, it seems like they're just, you know, testing a little bit over into mid to see what's going on, but still favoring that A ramp.
Yeah, this definitely seems to be a bit of a comfort zone, which is ironic because Siena's been rolling them 4 rounds in a row. But USA, they're really trying to make this one work. And Siena, I mean, they are just standing tried and true. I think they've been giving us kind of the same strategy every single time. It looks like it might work out here. A 1-for-1 trade. Xpith and OCU are going to fall. But Chewy Milk picks up that crucial kill on Andrew Crispy down to 4 HP. Loki bites the bullet there. Soju finds that crucial kill. Wizark finds the counter kill. And now, two plus 4 HP versus 1.5 here. University of South Alabama, they are definitely down in fire rate. A great frag from Wizard, goes a little bit high, not able to find that kill yet. Let's see what can be done. Pressure coming out. Wizard finds Soju, and now it is up to Tiny T, that impact player we talked about moments ago. Finds 1.
Not giving him anything. This is exactly what you want to be doing in this situation. Play conservative. They have to tap the bomb. They have to make it work. There's no reason to peek and just continue to make it difficult. And Tiny, obviously feeling that, just backs off and looks for the opportunity to save the op going into round 6. So another round from Siena on the A site. We're going to lose Chewy there, which is going to make it a little bit more expensive. But at the same time, you look at their economy, everyone can buy multiple AKs, so they're not hurting by any means. They're able to, you know, continue this shutout run. What I liked about USA there is they have the right idea. The execution was just a little off. For example, we saw some really good frags. We saw Molly coming in there. The problem is they weren't just they just weren't quite hitting their mark. And as I see that, Tiny just really trying to come up with an answer, stall them out, get that first kill, call the rotate in from his team as everyone starts to execute on that B side. And we'll see if Siena is as successful with this as they were on A.
Quick scope off the start of the round. Call that an opportunity. I mean, just a great job from Tiny T there. Puts down Wizard, finds a 5v4 advantage for USA for the first time in a long time. Lepicio going to be able to pick up Mike as well. Is this the moment? OC counter kill. 4v3 in favor of Siena College. This could be a crucial moment here for South Alabama. They might be able to put something on the board.
And they're trying to just sneak up into this mid area and see, it gives them a lot more freedom to play around. But you have some members from South Alabama just, keeping a watchful eye on the different angles that they might come from. And basically they're starting all over again, but this time with significantly less time on the clock and obviously less there. So they've been cut out in mid. They kind of see that. They're still not really sure where they're going. So Tiny's still keeping an eye on that stair area. But USA able to put down some different defenses, both with Crispy getting 2 kills there, super important, and some utility to make life very difficult for Siena.
And Chewy Milk just cannot do it there. Able to pick up University of South Alabama's first round win. All right, so not a complete shutout here. USA showing signs of life, might be able to turn some action around. Siena College, they want to clean up this round, make it a little bit better. Their economy's really starting to dwindle. If they lose this one, they're going to be in trouble.
Exactly. And we are hoping that we'll start to see this as the comeback story. It's always fun to see, 2 competitive teams going at it, sword to sword. And this is a great move by Lupicio, taking that early peak, really shutting things down. 1 kill by Xboth makes it a little bit more balanced, I guess, as Siena rushes onto the A site, or is now thinking about going back the other direction, knowing that the rotation has come in from USA.
And the rotation in USA trying to put the second one online. This feels very reminiscent of the first we saw earlier today with 2 different schools, where it was somebody starting off super strong, somebody able to turn it around. And hopefully map 2 of this series is a little less one-sided than what we saw earlier today. But now USA, I mean, they've got the numbers advantage just barely. Lupicio at that 40 HP, but 40 HP can be just enough to make a difference. 40 HP does not matter to Tiny T. He will take out 100 HP. Wizard and Chewy Milk are going to fall there. Wizard, the sole survivor. 1v3 matchup here. Might be able to get a couple of kills, and like you always say, we're looking to make this one expensive at this point.
Wizard is definitely one of the impact players that we've seen so far on the side of Siena, but whether or not he's 1v3 good is yet to be seen. Running down to the USPs, Tiny able to close that out after legging him with the op, which is always a frustrating thing to see as a sniper, but it comes out and USA takes their second round of the game. And is ultimately working towards that comeback and trying to even up the score on a CT map that does favor the CT rotations a little bit more than the T side, although it is one of the more balanced maps out there, which is always exciting to see.
Yeah, always a fan of balanced maps personally. I think the ones that are, like, oh, it's CT sided, it's T sided. Those are kind of. But I agree. This one.
Mike.
I think this one's pretty great, and Mike looking pretty great as well. Able to find,
both of his teammates.
Couple of team kills. Looking real good there, Mike. No, definitely a rough start, but University of South Alabama, they're looking on their 3rd round win in a row. So we're coming to the end of round 8, and USA, they've got beyond numbers advantage. Mike going to meet the same fate he brought upon his teammates, and now Siena College going for that full reset. The economy, I'm not going to call it in shambles, but we're definitely getting close.
Yeah, Mike swapping the Siena green for USA red, white, and blue there for just a moment to try to help them back to a more interesting game is probably his mindset. Hopefully that doesn't affect the team going forward as they start to spread out a little bit more and give up on some of that early success that they saw from concentrating on one side over the other. So as we see them spread out, they're starting to think about, where are these people playing? Lupicio, making some of that aggressive moves and just going to be able to see some of those tracers and take out Wizard and then continue to go aggressive. So now Mike may or may not feel that, takes it out, and now we're back to a 4v4.
Yeah, Mike gets that counter kill. OCU is taking a little bit of damage, but you're still up to that 80. That's going to be close enough to kind of keep you in the fight. It's not like you're down to sub 10 or anything of the sort. We've got so much time left on the clock, an unbelievable amount, so we're not risking on the clock quite yet. The bomb has yet to be planted, so we're going to have to see if Siena can win this one, finally put themselves back on top, or if it's going to be USA almost tying things up. They'll make it 5-4 if they're able to walk away with a round.
I like that they're moving towards mid. It's a good place to see that accident showed you. Quick headshot on OCU. Just make it sure that the presence is known there, make it a little bit harder to rotate as we start to get under that 1 minute mark, and ultimately need to see an execution. So with a second headshot, huge play and impact from him. Some of it his first in the round, or in this map, excuse me.
Yeah, Soju. I mean, on the lower half of eliminations right now, we see Lupicio at the top with 10. Soju just now meeting half of that at that 5th elimination here in round 9. It's going to be that action coming out. Chewy Milk trying to save the day, not quite able to do so. 2-1 trade here is going to fall onto Mike Met's shoulders.
And with 15 seconds left on the clock, he's got to get that bomb down if he's going to have any chance of winning, because we see USA obviously being a little bit more conservative, a little concerned that they might be going back in the other direction. They're going to hear the bomb go down. They're going to start to see that rotation. So Mike, is he able to take the
away? Has to reload. Unlucky. That is going to be a valiant effort, to say the very least. Looks like Expo going to grab the op. Smart play there. I kind of thought just walking away from, hey, your job ain't done, buddy. But no, they've figured it out. They've turned it around, and now Siena they have found themselves up once again on that 5-4. That used to be 5-0.
That was a heroic effort from Mike there, trying to do his best. And here's the we'll say less ideal moment from Mike's checkered pass coming into play there as he tries to redeem himself, and comes with just 5 HP short of the round win. So we're now looking at USA taking on what could be the equalizer.
The equalizer would be pretty exciting to see here. I was a little worried we were going to get a reminiscent matchup of what happened earlier when I saw 5 rounds in a row without even a sign of life. But now a sign of life has made an appearance indeed. 5v5 drops to 2v2. Over half of the players cut down early. Loki goes for the plant, going to be guarded out by OCU here. Soju and Tiny T, the impact players from University of South Alabama, normally are going to be the ones to engage. There's 1 kill for Soju. No, instead, Soju takes a lot of damage, down to 7 HP. OCU only down to 60. Goes for the defuse. Pros don't fake, but no, it looks like they are not going to. USA finds the bomb defuse and wins the round.
Big brain play from Soju there, who's really come alive over these last 2 rounds. That huge impact play in mid with the double headshot, and almost getting the spray down in several situations, just making a huge impact in how they're coming back in this round. So despite all of that, because Siena continues to get the plant down round after round, they're still on AKs and still able to bring it back. While we look over on the CT side and starting to see their bank accounts just start to creep up a little bit more. If they can keep this up, they can make this a 10-5 game and really make it hurt.
Yeah, I mean, that could be an absolutely phenomenal way to start. I mean, a rough start, rather. A phenomenal way to follow up, that is. So I want to see University of South Alabama really able to find some action. Tiny T, just the name of the game right now, is this op down that staircase. They just, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. And right now, Siena College, they're doing just that. They keep lining up on that staircase, and Tiny T takes the shot opportunity every single time.
That was a huge misclick on that initial, but Soju coming in with the headshot machine of the last couple of rounds to clean up and make that. We almost lose the op. Wisely falls off from Wizard, but while he's doing that, his teammates are rushing onto the A site, and he's successfully drawn 2 of the players over to the B bomb site. Although Xbot does not care, takes on both Osayu and Chewy Milk, trying to take advantage of the misdirect. Soju cleans it up, and Siena is now at a 1-round deficit.
I think you're getting to that point in time. Oh, excuse me. I think you're getting to that point in time where Siena might be getting a little bit boomed, right? I don't want to speak for the team. I don't know them super well, but I know if I lost 6 rounds in a row, I certainly would be stoked, right? You've got to look at every single one of these as a GG go next. I think that's exactly what I'm out in. Maybe a little bit of yoga during the break, maybe a little bit of deep breathing exercises, screw your head back on your shoulders. But Siena College, they've got to change something up here.
Yeah, when you go from, being up 5-0 to getting 6-0, there's obviously something that's not quite working the way that it is. And I think what I would like to see a little bit more from them is we've seen them kind of take 2 different approaches. One is they just, play, punch you in the face kind of Counter-Strike, rush up a ramp and really make sure that they take control of that bomb site quickly, taking it down anybody that they can along the way. And that worked for them in the early round because USA just didn't have an answer for it. It worked to keep their economy in check. It worked to get, those first 5 rounds on the board to start with. But then we start to see them, once they have other equipment, that they started to spread out a little bit. Soju steps up to get some of that mid control. You have people like Xbot pulling this incredible double kill off of the A ramp, and Soju just continuing to find that confidence in his gunplay. So I think what Siena needs to do is try going back to that just hard, smash mouth style Counter-Strike, try to get onto one of those sites and, just make sure that somebody's got a smoke to take care of the molly as they come up, because while USA is definitely countering, it's not something that's unwinnable by any means.
Yeah, definitely not unwinnable. And I think that's something that maybe Siena might want to remind themselves of a little bit. Losing 6 rounds in a row, as I already talked about, is booming, it's tough, right? I mean, it's definitely a difficult thing to have that positive turnaround like University of South Alabama has. But Siena, they've seen it. They've proof in the pudding. They've seen it's possible to win 6 rounds, right? USA just did it, and Siena College coming in hot here. They're gonna have to decide. I want to call this almost a pivotal round. If Siena wins this one, then keep themselves in the game. But if USA walks away 7-5, it's gonna be a phenomenal way to keep USA's momentum moving.
I also like the way that if you look at both of these teams on the scoreboards, they're pretty equal. And I think what that really speaks to is the fact that no one player has been the difference in these rounds, except for, I guess you could say, Soju certainly playing hero in some of those earlier rounds to make bigger impacts. But it also means that either team can make a play from any position at any point in time. And there isn't, one player that really needs to step up their game in a way that's sort of sandbagging the rest of their efforts. So as they get into this, we're seeing Siena, slower a little bit. They're favoring towards that B bomb site with, no equipment. And we're seeing those
Oh
early
my!
rounds as you'd expect. Tiny just playing up aggressive, trying to make it as unpleasant as he can for anybody that's even thinking about that. Lupizio just,
Siena, I just they can't be that upset about losing when they keep falling for the same thing 6 rounds in a row, 7 rounds in a row. He's gonna be there. He's gonna have the op, and he's not gonna miss his first shot. He hasn't done it yet. It has been nothing short of hyper impressive coming out from the University of South Alabama's Tiny T. We talked about that momentum maker, that team booster player in the form of Tiny T, and so far they've been living up to that name perfectly. USA going up 7-5.
And with 3 rounds up for grabs left in this half, we will see the T side and Siena go back to AKs. And I think this is the first time we're going to see the op on the T side from Mike here. So we're going to have the opportunity to see if they're going to, try to play for picks continuously, or if they're going to be a little bit more aggressive, as they, again, seem to be putting most of their resources towards that A ramp, probably trying to shut down Lupicio, as he's obviously playing off of that.
Woo!
Is getting punished for making some of those efforts. And somehow Xboth makes it out of that alive. I do not know how he managed to maintain those 2 HP.
Literally just crucial coming out from Expo there. There it is. You could have taken a deep breath in his general direction. He would have folded like a lawn chair. Now Siena College, they've finally found themselves back on top of the action here. Tiny T and Soju, the only ones. As long as Tiny T is alive, I'm confident to say this is right. You've got to get rid of this off. You've got to get rid of Tiny T, and Mike does just that. Tiny T will fall. Soju down to 14 HP. Probably not going to be winning this one.
I think we saw a little bit of overconfidence on the side of USA there. I think Lupicio saw that, in the previous 2 rounds, he was having a lot of success pushing up really aggressively, spraying down a little bit from the rafters there, and just making it really their map control, right? Because he could push through the A ramp, he could get behind the team and take down some of those early sprays. And in the the previous round, we saw all the kills spread around, and I think that's really helped them get into a good mental space. And here's Lupicio again in that flank position, just doing work, but Siena found the answer to that by just playing a little bit more conservatively, being ready to expect that type of aggression. And we're going to see the same type of forward position on both sides from Tiny, from Lupicio, and from, I think it was Xboth.
Siena finally learning, though. They're not just turning the corner. We saw somebody waiting just on the other side, and Tiny T was not budging a single muscle, waiting for that action to make an appearance. But again, if they just wait, if they find that opportunity, that could be huge. Lupicio finding an opportunity of their own. Mike goes down. Oh, and there goes Chewy Milk as well. Possibly a third in the form of, no, not quite. Low-key, 5 HP. Just barely able to smuggle themselves out of that engagement. Possible kill onto Lupicio, but no. OCU does fall. Now, there goes Low-key, and it's just going to be Wizard. 100 HP in a dream. We've got to get through 5 players from USA to tie the series back up once again.
That's just sort of a classic trap coming into that position, and just another kind of hazard of this map. Of the rotation times are so quick, and there's so many different places people can come from, that if you get caught up on the side of the T's as you're attacking, it's very easy for someone to come in behind you and ultimately, shut down any plans you might have had by disrupting them very early. What we're seeing on the other hand is USA is continuing that momentum, trying to make it as assured as possible that they're going to end with a pretty good map score. I think Mikey doing his best to get those flashes out there to help with the execute towards the B site. Not quite working out there, but they're still trying. So we'll see how it goes. USA starting to feel that, and they're seeing the rotation, but
Oh,
Wizard with that early kill could be the difference, especially because that was Tiny with the op gone.
yeah. Tiny now taken offline. Soju might be able to find a vengeance kill, might be able to wall bang a little bit there, but no, 2 will fall. Loki picks up Expos, but the damage may have been done to Crispy down. The PCO finds Loki. It's going to be a 2-2 matchup, health advantage in favor of Siena. There goes Soju. Now it is the PCO with an op and a dream. Takes a little bit of damage, caught out by Chewy Milk. Goes for the Molly play here. I don't think he saw get to the high ground there, but the PCO drops down into the Molly. Not sure what the idea was there. Possibly that bug where you think the gone and it's not gone quite yet. Siena College put another round win away.
I assume he probably looked at that and thought, it's the last round of the half. We just got to try for something, so might as well go for it when they may not expect the aggression through the Molly. But obviously that did not work out for them. So Siena able to bring back another round as they swap over to the CT side. And we'll see if they can make the terrorist charge as uncomfortable as it is to say Chewy Milk's name.
Yeah, Chewy Milk is certainly
Try not to think about it.
a choice name. I have to agree. I don't really want to know why the milk is chewy, and I don't think we're ever going to find out. Hopefully we don't. I'd rather not. Ignorance is bliss. Anywho, Soju and Tiny T finding some early kills here. USA putting in the numbers. Loki and OCU, the sole survivors. They could turn this one around, 2 kills each, but with the firepower just being thrown onto them. LaPCO finding Loki as well. OCU finds 1. OCU finds 2. Gotta find 2 more. OCU picks up a 4K. That would turn this whole series on its head, tying things back up, but it just feels a little unrealistic. However, Soju now down. The top choices, the top fraggers from both sides, now the only 2 left alive.
Oh, and those missed shots are critical, although I didn't think he heard him.
We wait. Is that patience? Pros don't fake, but OCU with the 4K in 1 round, 4 elims into a single round, gives up on the bomb. Not sure why you would in the pistol round. It's not like you have much to save, but damage is done. University of South Alabama, they just barely win the round.
Those USA taking a page right out of Siena's book, just going super aggressive. For some reason, I think we switched back times. So we'll see the names swap back to what they were in just a second. There we go. Beautiful. And now we're seeing some self-inflicted damage on the side of Siena.
Oh,
Maybe that's a little bit of payback for Mike's Tech 9 takedowns earlier in the last half.
Yeah, Mike, I gotta say, not having the best of luck so far. You're on Vertigo. I'm not able to really find the action they want, but Tiny T with a disgusting angle onto OCU there makes up for that last round and more. University of South Alabama, they've got the numbers advantage. They've got a very mild health advantage. LaPCO takes down Mike, and Wizark and Low-Key, they are the only ones left. This looks like a really good round here for USA.
Surprisingly, we've talked about maps that we've casted with Siena before, where Loki has been one of those critical cornerstones to their strategy. Not a lot out of him on an individual basis, which is a little different. I mean, what we said was really good about that is the fact that they're spreading the kills around. There's a lot of impact. There's a lot of opportunity for anybody to step up and make a play in any given round. But conversely, we look over at the USA side and we see LaPCO, their IGL, just running away with a leaderboard and really just round around having a huge impact on the CT side, and now doing the same thing as they lead the T front and continue to just chip away round after round from Siena.
Yeah, LaPCO almost double anybody else in lobby. Most elims in lobby at 20, next is 12. So an 8 elim difference coming out from LaPCO, really trying to help USA turn this one around. They're able to keep that momentum. They've found a lead, but it's really not as big as they maybe wanted to be entering round 18.
It's still pretty uncomfortable for both sides. Like, this certainly is not like what we just saw with Marquette versus Marist, where there's a very, decidedly one-sided momentum happening. Although it certainly is worth noting that since going up 5-0 in that first half, Siena has only been able to put 2 rounds to USA's 10. So that type of scoreline certainly tells the story of how just the momentum has shifted so drastically inside of it. And here we see a replay of USA just executing on the same strategy that Siena had and coming away with a really great win.
Yeah, a great win indeed. And I've got to say, USA, they've really stepped it up. You're completely right. I didn't even think about the fact that Siena has won 2 rounds in the time USA has won 10. That is Pretty crazy when you kind of put it that way. Siena won the first 5 rounds in a row, completely uncontested, and then USA, I don't know, they turned their monitors on, they plugged their mouse in, they had their headsets on backwards, and they fixed it. I don't know, they changed something, right? But it has made a very big difference. They're really outpacing Siena right now, and they're only 6 rounds shy of walking away with a map win here.
I think what really made a big difference, and just in terms of their mental place, is just how aggressive Lepicio and how successful he was with that aggression on the CT
Yeah.
side, continuing to just lock down that A ramp, continuously get in those flanks. And it's just really hard to answer that when you start to feel constricted and smothered as you're a T trying to enter any site. And none of that's working because either you're ending up in this situation like we saw where it's basically a shooting gallery through the smoke,
Yep.
or someone's just continuing to show up when you look behind you and you're just trying to like pull out your knife to, hang out and maybe press that F key a couple times to see how things are going. And we're seeing some of that early aggression again. Tiny T already coming up, trying to get some of those early picks on the B site. And hopefully Siena will be able to answer this if they want a prayer of coming back before USA runs away for the last 6 rounds of this map.
Possibly the longest we've gone without an elimination so far here on it out. Might be the first kill now. Soju takes a lot of damage, somehow not dealing any in return. Molly coming out from Soju for somebody who is already long gone. Bit of a wasted utility there, but I guess you don't know what you don't know. Another rather odd Molly, but opening up some space, giving that safe engagement to turn the corner. Already only 60 seconds left. All 10 players still on the table.
Trying to make sure you're clearing all of the multitudes of angles that you have, because you obviously don't want to get flanked. And it's a smart choice. Although they're having this issue, like you said, we're now under 60 seconds and we haven't seen a lot of commitment to one side or the other. And you kind of see that just based on the map placement, that's how they're working it. PCO coming out with a good kill off of Mike, the IGL from Siena, as they start to work into that B bomb site from mid and from the stairs.
Yeah, Xbox is going to be able to find OCU in that same breath. So a very slow burn, a very slow round coming out from USA, but it looks like it is going to work out well. They've got the numbers advantage. They find low key, and they just make that number even larger. To Crispy down to 10 HP, but as long as you can fire that gun, you are a crucial member of the team. Chewy Milk and Wizard, not 100 health between the two of them, not even 50, as it looks like Chewy Milk is going to fall. Wizard has the opportunity to succeed. Crispy goes for the bomb plant, and 41 HP in a dream.
Unfortunately, it's going to be a non-factor in that last fight. It's pretty tough because we're seeing these situations where we saw a couple of the efforts from Siena being copied by USA and some of that early aggression, just really trying to set up as many rounds as they could. And then as soon as they start to slow it down, they're just getting the better of the fights that are happening. And unfortunately for Siena, they just continue to get kind of caught out in some of these odd angles, whether it's rotation through mid or some of these other places that are just not going in their favor.
Oh!
And Crispy, oof.
Crispy with the hospital flick there, able to find some great action, able to break the wrist in the same breath, but a kill is a kill nonetheless. OCU and Mike Metz now down. Tiny T eliminates Tiny T. You hate to see it.
That's what we like to refer to in the industry as a whoops.
A big oopsie.
Gonna put them back in a position of now an equal fight. And now with Wizard and the AK, there was a chance, although Loki just getting caught out in mid, not a favorable position for the CTs, who are just desperately trying to get one round back before USA runs away with us.
Yeah, and USA, I mean, like you said, they really started to run away with this. It was a slow burn at the start. They lost a couple of rounds, and then they have not lost a darn thing since. Wizard 2 kills now, trying to be the hero, able to tie it up 1-1 here and left on the board, but the bomb already almost halfway done. Wizard going for the defuse. Pros don't fake, but Wizard does. Oh, Wizard will fall to Soju there and secure another round win for USA.
I do appreciate the brazenness of that play in the attempt because, as we'd mentioned, 2 to now 12 rounds in terms of the last 14 that have been played. You got to look for anything to give your team that spark. Come back into the round, give them the confidence in their shots, and kind of lighten up the mood. We heard Migs talk about that in their match, just talking about how when they got, just really tight and kind of out of sorts, that they weren't playing at their best. And it seems like that's kind of what happened to Siena, where they're just, unable to take back some of the momentum that USA is continuing to pull there. And we see that by just Lepicio again, creating some of those great spaces. And when Wizard, doing his darndest to put his team on his back, gets something, unfortunately, he just gets shut down in the moment.
Yeah, Wizard has really been trying to carry the team here, but just cannot pick up the slack quite enough to make it worth it. Already taken offline, like you said. Chewy Milk down. Mike Metz, you've got full HP, but you're going up against 374 HP on the opposing side. I mean, it's doable, right? We've seen it. We saw it happen earlier with OCU finding a 4K in a round, but Crispy going for the bomb plant, and now all of USA, they're going to protect this thing with their lives. A little bit of damage dealt out, but Mike Metz simply does not have the firepower to respond. Soju picks up the kill. USA, they're only 3 rounds short of stealing Vertigo.
One thing that's interesting to me that could potentially be a sort of a chink in the armor for USA is they have this tendency to leave the bomb towards porta potties right here in spawn. And we saw that a couple rounds ago that kind of put them up against the clock a little bit.
Right.
So if Siena stops with this early aggression and giving up some of these early round kills in the first, 30, 45 seconds, USA continues to do that as they seem to have so far, they do have an opportunity potentially to just run the clock down to a point where if they can just stay alive, they don't even need the kills. They just need to not be okay with planting. And Wizard doing his best, taking that double kill, huge on the first on that B side to keep that dream alive.
Yeah, Wizard doing a pretty solid job. They're able to find, like you said, that double kill comes through. Soju almost turns into a triple kill there, drops to 13 HP. Siena College, they are in such a good scenario to win this round and away with it, but we've seen the insanity that USA brings to the table, and Loki finding Crispy is going to make it even harder for USA to turn this one around.
And I think it's really critical that Loki comes alive here. We've talked about how he's been such a big impact, and Lepicio just not caring about who comes to see him. Mike unfortunately falling to the op on an early rush. But with that being said, Wizard rightly at the top of the leaderboards now for his team really comes out huge there with that huge multi-frag, making sure that those dreams remain alive for Siena, taking back their first in that what I think was maybe 5 or 6 rounds going to the side of USA.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just jump back to that perspective one more time to talk about the fact that this series at one point was 5-0, and in the time that USA has won 13 rounds, Siena has only won 3. So we're definitely seeing USA in charge of the momentum. Even after round, they're still up by 5, so they're in a very comfortable position to walk away with this. But it's going to really come down to this next round, this pivotal one. Can Siena bump themselves up to 9? Mike Metz falls. That might be the answer to our question already.
That was an amazing molly in the way that worked out for the side of USA. It gave Mike just a little bit of false confidence and thinking that he would be maybe safe from it. Oh no.
Oh no. That is arguably the worst thing you want to happen to you in a scenario like that. You reload and then you've stared an enemy dead in the face. However, Chewy Milk and Wizard, they're able to clean it up. More than enough time to defuse the bomb. I think they're going to give up on it. All right, no, they got time. Siena, they're going to go up to 9, 13-9 here in round 23. This is easily the closest we've seen a game in a while. Only 4 rounds, 2 of them.
Absolutely. It's great to see that, and we'll see some just wild kills from Wizard here, really making the difference at the end of that round. And we saw that again in this last one, protecting his teammates as they go in for the bomb. So I think the key to Siena continuing this momentum, again, we saw Loki come alive a little bit there. Wizard, huge impact plays across his site. So if they can continue to build that up, then they can certainly take a good run at bringing this back.
Frag out early, not going to be able to find much, but low-key might get into a firefight perhaps a little earlier than they wanted to if they're not careful, so we got to see a bit of a slower rotation coming through. OCU taking a page right out of Tiny T's book, going for that op on the staircase. This is one of those slower rounds again, still all 10 players standing.
I don't blame them for wanting to slow it down a little bit. I think the aggression and just sort of those early trades had, in some cases worked out for one team, but it also worked out for the other, which means that you're giving up an advantage or taking an advantage, and it's really been a gamble. There hasn't been one place where either team has been able to dominate consistently. So here it's a good position to take that down in terms of the speed, play out a little bit, and then certainly on the side of Siena, just take the fact that you won that last round heart and continue to try to build from there.
Yeah, no doubt. Just build up. Even if it's from the ground, you're able to turn some things around. Mike Metz now able to find Tiny T. Soju down as well. Siena, they're getting ready to hit double digits here. There might only feels like USA. They picked up the ball and they ran with it for quite a while, but these last couple of rounds have just been Siena's for the taking.
And that's going to mean at least an eco round for the side of the University of South Alabama, as that last round really took a toll on their bank accounts. So I would expect in this case, we'll probably start to see a little bit more of that early round aggression. You're seeing like the Tech Nines coming out, which is usually a pretty good smash mouth Counter-Strike indication. And just based on how OCU has had some difficulties landing the mollies where he wanted to, that could be the recipe for success as they come into this mid. Great kill in response to Chewy's from Crispy there, and they're just rushing onto this B site.
Yeah, rushing onto the B side Xbox. I mean, they've just started the whole W, right? They realized we're playing it too slow, we're playing too patient, we're playing right into Siena's hands, and now they've really been able to turn it around. However, from the back line here, might be a little bit of a disaster as we see at least Lapizio is looking the wrong way entirely. Loki and Mike Metz going for that slow rotation. Possible Flash coming out. Yeah, Flash going to engage, but also giving away their location in the process. Looks like Xboth will fall. Lapizio finds one. Has to reload before they can find the second, but here we go from behind. Might be Crispy who finds it. USA put 14th point on line, only 2 short of walking away with the Vertigo round win.
That may have been a miracle that we just witnessed, because after the nade that we saw coming from Siena that destroyed the remaining health of USA, I thought for sure that they'd be able to just, find that one bullet or that ricochet to take care of any remaining players and take it. But Lapizio just showing again, if you have 1 HP and an op, you can have a huge impact on how you're playing. So Mike trying to come back and make sure that they don't take that for granted.
Great rotation there from Crispy. That was another one that we saw where they just kind of went where you'd least expect him to be, and Crispy really took advantage of that. OCU finds a kill onto Lapizio, might find some extra damage here, picks up the kill even onto Xboth. So really, Siena College, I've got to say, it's been OCU. These last couple are really been making the difference for me.
Yeah, we talked about, Loki needing to wake up, but the rest of the team can always make a play, and that's exactly what OCU has been able to do. Again, having a little bit of trouble with some of those nades early on, but making it count when it's, about putting bullets down range. And now he's put his team in a great position alongside the work of his teammates, especially Mike's early kills there. So now they're at a position where Wizard is going to see them take down the bomb, which is huge. He knows that the last player is in mid, and we'll call out the rotation and hopefully close to the round. And Siena trying to break this an 11-14 map.
Soju, basically at full HP, right? Might be able to find one kill, maybe an exit frag here or there, but no. It's going to be Chewy Milk who picks up the crucial elim in the form of Soju, giving Siena their 11th round. In University of South Alabama, they just had to put 2 more away, but all of a sudden, that may have become very difficult.
It is, and it seems like they're making the right choice here, making a very light buy, not going too heavy into this. They know where their loss bonus is after losing the last couple, so they're going to stay above that $2,000 mark. And then, well, with the exception of Soju, I guess, he's going to stick with that Mac 10 and Flash, and they're just going to go hard and see what they can get out of this B bomb site.
Yeah, they're going to be able to look and see, like you said, what they can get out of the B-bomb site. Mike Metz picks up 1, turns it into 2. Crispy and Soju both fall. Lapizio found a kill, but Siena, they just, I don't know, they put their gamer chairs into sport mode or something, because they are just coming to life here. Siena College able to win another round.
Yeah, and unfortunately, despite that investment, not able to get the bomb down, so they're going to be in kind of a mid round in terms of their bank, right? Soju, who invested a little bit heavier than some of his teammates last round, is going to be on Galil, which is not ideal, although it's certainly better than it used to be, while the rest of the team goes back to AKs. So against the equipment that we see on the CT side, these are rounds that are just getting increasingly more difficult. With that 2-round cushion, they do have a little bit of time for this patience. So I guess that's something that they've got going for them, but they certainly, need to be able to close out these last 2 rounds and really just put those nails in the coffin to make sure that they at least walk away 1-1, if not 2-0, as they think about the next map as well.
Yeah, and that's a reminder, folks. We're still on map 1 here. We are in round 27 of map 1. So there is, just worlds of difference that can be making an appearance here. We could see University of South Alabama walk away with a 16-14, or we very well could see overtime the way these teams have been so close to one another so far.
And I think this is the way that USA does it, right? They just look for Siena to just get a little impatient with where they're getting information from, and just that slight difference made a huge impact in terms of what's going on. And now we once again see Mike all alone on against a four-team USA with all full health and great positions and plenty of contact utility. Although as they take down Soju, You know, if we continue to see that aggression, that's not an unreasonable thing to potentially consider as a retake.
Yeah, especially with the AWP. We know the damage that can be done here. 3v1, it looks like Crispy's going for the flank of a lifetime. Might be coming out around the back, but now they know where the location is. Xbox looking the wrong way, still able to react fast enough. Mike Metz will fall. USA picks up round 15. That very well could have been our penultimate round. It all comes down to this. Will Siena keep the dream of Vertigo alive?
And here's Tiny just playing that, you know, cheeky boost spot that if you don't think to look for it, especially if it's, you know, not something that you're used to considering on that bomb site, they just made that early round really, really difficult for Siena to recover from. And now they're facing map point.
Yeah, all of a sudden, things that started off so strong for Siena, they're finding themselves on the loser side of the scenario. Crispy early is going to be a great opportunity here. Siena College finds themselves in that 5v4 scenario. They just have to play smart. They just have to play careful. Mike Metz with another AWP, I mean, already made it worth it finding that kill in such an important.
And now we'll see how the reaction from USA comes out. You see that they're moving a little bit more in favor of the B bomb site at this point, which has worked out pretty well for them if they get Wizard. But with that double kill, they're already making that statement early in the round that Wizard is not ready to give up and is not ready to let them take that site and put Siena into map 2 down to USA.
Yeah, Wizard, they are down, but certainly not out. They're not quitting yet. I mean, Wizard is actually almost the top fragger in lobby with 24. The only person ahead of them is PCO with 26. So really, these two just putting in the work for their respective teams.
Excellent cleanup. Good teamwork, not letting your team face danger alone, and that's worked out really well for them. So despite being against map point, Siena still has the opportunity to bring this back, especially because as we look over the USA side, their money is bad. Straight up bad. They're not going to have utility, and they're opting for the Mac 10s in this case, which means that we're probably going to see some quick thing. But Wizard with that double kill in that last round made all the difference. USA going back to that rush mid, trying to take some of that success that they had from a previous round, but Siena is ready for it, able to take out 3, 4,
oh my God.
5.
Oh, just like fish in a barrel. Siena College just found a phenomenal opportunity there. One away from forcing an overtime. South Alabama, they've got to win right here. They have to put this round away, and I'm still not sure they're going to be able to with the way Siena's playing.
That those last couple of rounds from Siena have been quite dominant, with the exception of you know, the last round that went to USA. It's Siena swinging back in the other direction. If we look at the round wins, Siena has been able to string together quite a series, and it's all been primarily on the back of Mike being able to get some of those early kills on A ramp, or Wizard just making sure that he stands tall on the B site as we see some of that aggression. And here again, we see a little bit of utility from Crispy trying to draw some of the attention of Siena, but they're not falling for it. We see Siena already cheating a little bit more towards that B site as those smokes start to come in, and the players on that B site start to set up and expect that push.
5v5, it all comes down
Huge
to
nade.
The nade just rips it apart, and now it is a shooting gallery for Siena College. 3 are going to fall. OCU finding all 3 of them there. Tiny T flashing a couple of their own teammates, and Siena College, they have taken us all the way to the wire. We talked about this being a close match, but I did not expect the time with the way USA was turning that one around.
That round was all about OCU, and that second half has been so much about the effort that he and Wizard have put in on that B bomb site to just keep it shut down. And so we're going to see if they can continue with that, because we have seen when Wizard starts to overextend, look down at the bomb site, or those stairs, excuse me, he's fallen victim to a couple of those peaks, or if they start to get out a little bit far over the vents, that can be dangerous. But they learned from that lesson. They played more conservatively. We see Mike going for the early peak, seeing the smoke, but again, most of the efforts from USA seem to be cheating a little bit more towards the mid and B bomb site.
Yeah, and we're still on map 1 here. We're going into overtime, so I believe it's going to be 6 rounds. Oh, OCU! Things were looking so good, and then they just biffed the nade a little bit. Wizard not going to send
too much.
Okay, we hyped them too much. The pressure's on, yeah. Everybody's watching at this point. Now 15-15, first of 6 overtime rounds. This first round could be incredibly important to see who can find this momentum here in this matchup.
So we see Soji's pushed really far up into that mid area, and we have Chewy just staring him down, waiting for him to turn that corner and see if anything happens. But neither of these teams wouldn't give an inch at this point until we start to see some of that early aggression with just a little chip damage from either side. A little bit better of a nade off of Wizard down to that stairs position. Still doesn't do much, but
Oh,
oh,
Peeker's
Loki just taken
advantage.
out before he's gonna have a chance for the impact. That's a rough start for Siena.
Absolutely, and like you said, neither of these teams want to give an inch because simply if you give an inch, they're going to take a mile, right? And that's definitely what these teams want to avoid. However, USA, they've broken up once again. They were like, all right, we got to the overtime. We put on our show. Let's get this show back on the road. Able to find 4 eliminations already. OCU, the sole survivor, the bomb plant coming from Expo, and it looks like USA, they're going to be able to keep this round in their favor. They just have to watch out for
Tennessee is still going for it. He's making a statement. He's saying we're not giving away any rounds for free. So with the low health on Sojo and Lupicio, it's not undoable, but definitely unlikely. And as that Kobe nade just takes down the last 9 HP, Siena finds it once again themselves a little bit on their back foot, trying to find an answer to USA's round win in round 31.
Whew, round 31 indeed. We've seen Siena in this scenario before. They're down a little bit. They seem to not mind it too bad. They can usually come back pretty aggressively from it, but we're going to have to see. USA, they looked really clean in that last round. Arguably the cleanest we've seen them in quite a while. I'd love to see what comes from that. A lot of throwables sent down. Expoth taking about a quarter of damage there. Siena, they're trying to play it slow. They're trying to wait for USA to make a mistake.
Oh, and just click from Tiny, takes out OCU, who's been the hero of that bomb site. And his mic tries to rotate through mid. We see that lurk that's been there the last couple of rounds really starting to take hold. And despite that, we see a little bit of a comeback from Chewy, but all of those kills are going in favor of USA.
Is that it, it seems? Okay, yeah, it looks like it is going to be a little more aggressive here for USA. Only one person left. Chewy Milk picks up Tiny T. Had no idea Xbox was right around the corner, so not able to capitalize off the back of that at all. Bomb plant comes through. USA going up 17-15.
2 rounds away from winning this, and 1 round from before they switch side in overtime. Siena is just struggling to find their foothold and to find an answer for what USA is bringing to them. So USA, despite having kind of been in the opposite situation, is going to find that, and Tiny's just wrecking this B bomb site.
Yeah, Tiny's been on their absolute A game so far, but OCU able to find that counter kill. Soju gets a kill, but again, OCU is there for the equalizer. Looks for another one, but the flash comes through, able to keep the dream alive. OCU still at full HP, however, they commit the molly. Seems like if it's a bit of a bait, they're going to go for that rotation underneath. Now Loki in a fight all his own.
I like that SCU is able to hold his own, keep full health, which it was wildly impressive given the amount of bullets and mollies that were going his direction. But we see USA coming out onto that A site with only 1 person here to defend.
Oh, Crispy takes out Low-Key. A great opportunity now. Only 2 left. OCU and Mike trying to difference using every throwable they have and more. Crispy just waiting for that time to strike. Might be able to, will find it. OCU goes down, and it's going to be Mike Metz, the hero that has to be there to save the day for Siena.
And with the op gone, it becomes increasingly more difficult, as obviously 1 body makes a big difference as well. But this is the last round of the half, so Mike has no choice but to go for it and try to make something happen against 3 AKs all trained at his head.
I mean, yeah, you've got to go for the hero play here. 99% chance it doesn't work, but hey, at least you can say you tried. University of South Alabama going to put themselves up 18-15. They are 1 round shy of winning Vertigo here in overtime.
Siena is going to have to do their best to do what they recapture some of that magic that they had in the first half in those first 5 rounds where they went completely unanswered, and try really just to survive at this point. As you mentioned, we are on map point in overtime.
Yeah, and this is I don't know, this feels so like what we've seen 100 times already, and I know that sounds crazy to say, but Siena, they find themselves down a little bit, they turn it all the way around. If anybody's gonna bring us into like a secondary overtime and overtime, I feel like it's gonna be Siena, but they're gonna throw it to a timeout here in this final moment. They know it's crucial. They've got to win this one, or it's going to be a map loss. They do not want to lose after all the work they've put in.
Absolutely, and it's And the other part about it is you have to think about the amount of just mental strain that this is putting on
Oh,
not
yeah.
just Siena as they try to think about, how do they find these last couple of rounds, but on USA as well, because the further you go into OT, the harder it is for you to come out into the second map because this is one of two and feel fresh and confident in it. So that starts to create this position where neither of these teams are particularly dominant over one another, right? It's a pretty even matchup, which is, obviously always really exciting to see, but it is a grind. And because there certainly is a potential for Siena to win these next 3 rounds and bring it back in their favor, you never know what's going to happen. And it could be a while before we see Overpass still.
Yeah, Siena v USA is like a box of chocolate. All right. I'm done. But either way, that's just some great action coming through so far. Siena, they have been very, I don't want to call them hit or miss, but very unpredictable, I think is a good word to describe the action that we've seen from this team so far. Some rounds they're getting full swept, some rounds they're full sweeping. So we're going to have to see what they bring to the table. The timeout going to come to a close in just shy of 20 seconds here. And Siena, I mean, all their cards are on the table. They can no longer pull any punches. They've got to come out 100% swinging.
Absolutely. This is their first and only opportunity to really say, hey, this is our map too. Really take over as much as they possibly can, as quickly as can, and try to force USA onto their back foot, make it difficult for them to come back into the next round with any type of confidence, really. And so I would expect to probably see maybe a little bit more presence, which is where they seem to be going. So they're going to have a little bit of mid, a little bit of A, and they're going to see what they can do to make this the last effort for them to stay alive.
Yeah, a last ditch effort here. We see Siena just waiting out the barrage of throwables that are towering down above them. They know if they're patient, they won't get hit by any of the damage, and that at this point is what it is all about, is keeping as much HP as possible and then winning those initial firefights off the back. Another throwable coming out, which is so weird because they literally haven't seen anybody, but they are just continuously trying to make sure that nobody gets in underneath them. Oh, what a great start. Wizark finds Soju. That could be the first of many kills. Like I said, Siena, if anybody's going to keep this going as long as possible, my gut tells me it's going to be them.
Yes, absolutely. They are having a little bit of trouble with some of these executes, just on where those nades are coming out. But Mike is trying to make up for that, get some of these mollies off there. They're getting some of these lineups off of the places that are going to be the most impactful. You're going to have a relatively easy time to get the bomb down, although Tiny is trying to make that really difficult as Wizard pulls out the flank from Jacrispy and make sure that that flank is open.
Wizark might be the sole reason that they even stay alive here, able to find 2 eliminations, the only 2 onto University of South Alabama so far. Let's see if they can turn this one around. They've obviously don't have the first advantage. They're walking into a 3v, almost 3. A lot of damage here from Lepicio around the corner. Picks up a kill, but gets traded out in that same breath. We see a fake defuse. Tiny T picks up OCU. Tiny T picks up Mike Metz. And I think it's about to be over. They've got to go for fuse, but nobody's able to pick it up quite yet. Let's see if the action can happen. Wizard finds Tiny T. I don't think there's time, but USA is going to go for it. And no, Siena College wins the round. USA, they tried their darndest, but Siena, they keep the dream alive.
Well, goodness me. I suppose if we were going to expect anybody to, pull the victory from the Jaws defeat there, it would be Wizard on the side of Siena, able to play that timing beautifully and make sure that it's just a really difficult defuse situation, even in 2v1. So that's great to see and potentially a good indicator of what we might see in this round as well.
Yeah, I cannot believe Wizard really put in the Wiz work there, you know what I mean? Just able to find those 2 crucial eliminations early on, and Siena College, I mean, if they win this one, they win the next one, they take us into a secondary overtime. That'll be phenomenal, but low-key, finding Lepicio early, phenomenal way for them to start. Okay, a bit of a cleanup there, unfortunately. Oh, Soju Patience misses the shot, but cleans up the kill. Wizard falls. That top fragger will go down. 29 eliminations down to the drain. They're actually top frag on both teams, currently down.
And as we can see that Siena is starting to move towards that B bomb site, you can also see that USA is starting to realize that they don't have much of a presence there, that they're starting to see there. A missed shot from Tiny T. Rarity is potentially going to be the main difference in this round.
Yeah, first missed shot in a while, honestly. I was going to say that same thing. Tiny T has been hitting those like they're free. Chewy Milk picks up Jacrispy, and Tiny T goes down as well. X-Bolt and Soju, they are desperate to win this one. It's going to fall into a 1v1. OCU versus X-Bolt, the hardest names in the lobby to pronounce, going toe-to-toe here. Looks like it might be a favor of OCU here. A fake rotation around from Expo. Oh, and there it is! That's going to be it. University of South Alabama, I believe that is going to guarantee their win here on Vertigo on round, what I don't even know, 30-something.
35.
35.
Doing great work on both teams there, just making it an absolute nail biter. And I cannot imagine being the side of Siena in that last couple of rounds, just your heart pounding every single bullet, every pull of the trigger that you make. And what a great time. I think that's the first overtime that we've seen in the last 2 weeks.
It's the first one
At
that
least
we've seen, at least.
Yes. And so it's a big moment from USA taking their first map victory of the season. Siena, unfortunately, continuing to go winless, but we are going to have Overpass coming up in a minute, which is going to give it an opportunity for Siena to take revenge. So we'll see if they can win their map pick, but it's hard to see. We'll probably see a little bit of a reset. We'll have a good moment, and we're going to kick it to a quick.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back. We are jumping into the knife round. It seems just a moment here. We got that fight down mid. This is always quite funny. Oh man, just kidding. You guys are looking at us. We were looking at the wrong screen. But hey, knife round is happening. A bunch of slack. Somebody wins it. Somebody picks a side, and then we jump into what everybody's asking for some CSGO action on Overpass. I believe. I'm very excited to see what is going to be the action here. This is going to be USA. They found themselves up one in overtime. Do they carry that momentum here into the next map, or is Siena going to be able to win? Because this is Siena's map pick.
And I love the fact that we have no idea because again, we talked a little bit about that mental game at the end of the last map. Going through 35 rounds of Counter Strike is a lot. There
Yeah.
is no doubt about that grind because you're just matching round for round, and now we're going into this map straight away to see how these teams are going to deal with the pistol round. We see USA starting out on the CT side, trying really hard to shut down this early aggression that Siena has really favored over the last two maps.
Yeah, Siena, they've really kicked it up a notch in terms of aggression. It looks like that's carrying over here. They're going to go immediate bomb plant. Might be able to find it. OCU goes for it and lands it there. It's going to be 2.5v1 here. Lepicio still at full health. We've seen a couple players already get, 3, 4Ks, so I wouldn't be surprised to see Lepicio pick up one of their own if they play it smart, if they play it careful, but it's obviously a tall ask.
And we saw a couple, familiar names on the kill feed on the side of Siena, with Wizard coming out with that strong 2K. So we'll look for him to continue that momentum and continue to have the level of impact. And Loki is going to look to be a little less quiet than we saw him in the first map.
Yeah, definitely so. Loki is going to be the name to kind of to keep an eye out for. I'm curious to see they pick up 2 kills in the pistol round, 2 from Wizark as well. So Wizark, been good, still good, carrying that momentum from Overpass. I really want to keep an eye out. Does Siena run away with this the same way they did? Do we see a 5-round lead turn into a loss again? I'm really curious. Are we going to follow to these patterns that we basically know and love at this point, or are we going to get a bit of a different game?
Well, luckily, they only lost Wizard to that, which I say, as one of the names that we'll continue to talk about as being one of the big impacts for Siena. But again, no investment on the side of the CTs. So unless they can get something crazy off the back of this USP and this single Mac 10, this should, in theory, be a quick cleanup round for Siena. Although missing some of those shots from OCU.
OCU, though, makes up for it in the same breath. Able to find 2, gets traded out by JaCrispy, but Siena, they win that round. They are statistically expected to win. They're ready to keep their feet on the ground and keep the momentum moving. I just cannot wait. I'm like antsy kid on Christmas right now. See what's going to be happening in terms of does Siena get the 5 and then get swept again. I really can't wait to find.
Yeah, we see USA here opting to buy into the FAMAS instead of waiting for a little bit better of economy and potentially just giving one more round up early on just to get better equipment, get the first op or so on. But they're, obviously going for early aggression. We're going to see Soju moving up into water and his teammate moving into that connector, working out really well for Soju, which is a name that we have not said a lot this evening.
Oh, yeah, it's really not. Soju had a little bit of positive momentum at the beginning of Vertigo and then kind of fell off towards the latter half of it, and now they'll find some decent value. I think it was a double kill there, so maybe they're kind of the hero that USA needs. Soju does find that 3rd kill, gives them the 1 point, so this is already different momentum, already different styling that we saw on Vertigo just moments ago, and now I'm really curious to see. I keep saying that, but I'm so curious because these teams, they're so close in terms of ranking that this truly could go either way at any point in time.
Yeah, and Siena, as you said, pretty close into ranking both of these teams coming into this game winless in their maps, but certainly not without a pretty good round count overall and respective to the matchups that they had, which were pretty tough. So this is an opportunity for them to really make that mark. USA obviously already doing that with their first round matchup. Mike trying to answer Lepicio's early aggression, taking away that FAMAS, and potentially a couple more minutes and kills off this clock round.
Chewy Milk finds JaCrispy in a crucial moment. It's going to be that 5v3 forced here for USA. They won a round. Tiny T finds a counter kill, but gets counter-struck, so to speak. OCU is going to be able to find that kill, and now Wizard goes for the plant. I feel like we so rarely see people plant here. Excited to see that getting a change of pace come through. Siena just looking good. They're up 4v2. They've got the weapons advantage. They've got the damage advantage.
I think a lot of that just came off of that early pick from Mike there, because if Lepicio, we saw him on the A site on Vertigo when he would take those early picks, get 1 or 2 frags, and that kind of set up Siena for failure as they continued on. But in that case, Lepicio overextends a little bit into Playground. Mike gets that great Deagle kill, takes over the P90, and then immediately Siena is moving towards that A round and just making a crazy play to make sure they're taking back some of those rounds. And as you can see, that has huge implications on the economy because now only JaCrispy has a Deagle and armor without even head armor, although that's certainly not necessary when you're facing AKs. And then we've got all this mixed money across the rest of their team with only Soju above 5K. So they are going to have to do their best to just make this round expensive, as we keep saying, round over round. And we see Loki already starting to pull it off, but JaCrispy answering over on OCU, taking that scout off of the field of play.
Yeah, this would be a great round for USA to somehow win. We've got a couple of fascinating weapons here and there, but a lot of just pistols coming out from USA so far. A couple of missed shots may be the life changer there. Now sending a flash down the hallway. Smart enough not to look at it. Goes for a bit of a 360. Lepicio around the corner. Misses that first shot. Still finds the kill on the Wizard. Almost finds a second. Does find a second. Will be traded out by Chewy Milk there. Now it's going to be a 3v2. USA, they've got the numbers, but they certainly don't have the fire.
That mild confusion coming onto the site has just spelled disaster for the side of Siena, and now it's all up to Mikey to try to take on what now is a pretty well-equipped USA team as they try to get into this post-plant situation, taking out the first and the second. Mike, what a hero doing it with, oh man, that's a race against his own HP, just drying up around the fire, just burning up. And boy, does he do a great job to make sure that he keeps his team's hopes and dreams alive.
I think that's a great way to say that. What a hero indeed. We always talk about wanting to see hero. Mikey finally giving us what we're asking for. Pick up some great value there. Perhaps a little bit lucky they were able to land all the shots that died immediately after. But hey, a round win is a round win. Siena College coming up 4-1.
And now we have USA back on to weapons. We see Lepicio with the op as we expect, able to hopefully make some impact, although he's already taking a little bit of chip damage and he missed that early shot. So as Mike tries to take over some of this connector control, we're going to see USA retreat a little bit back to the A site, which is good because they missed some of that early pick and early aggression. And Xboth on the other side shutting down any chance of Chewy trying to get some of this early aggression out. And that is the bomb completely on its own while the rest of their team is at the A site. Not a great position to be in for Siena.
Yeah, certainly not ideal. I don't think anybody wants to be in the position that Siena has decided to put themselves in, but maybe they're able to turn it around one way.
I guess what Siena has going for them in this position is that it seems like USA expects them to come from T spawn when they're actually coming from CT spawn. The downside being that OCU has a scout and a Glock, so not a lot of impact, and JaCrispy susses that out, sees a CU, takes that down, although Wizard, starting to creep around, might be able to take this kill.
Oh,
that's
wow.
1 down, 3 to go.
Yeah, you can tell these people definitely play this game a lot because they're doing that classic first-person shooter of their crosshairs constantly at head level, just in case they accidentally run into somebody, and that's something that can obviously separate a team fight. If you get to just pull the trigger once, you can put them down without having to aim. Obviously going to make you look a little bit better in the combat. Well, it's going to be, speaking of combat, Wizard finding Tiny T as well. I said it earlier, I'll say it again. As long as Wizard is alive, the round is not won. You've really got to get rid of this player to give your team that sense of security. But they go for the defuse, they find it, and USA puts their second point up.
Not a great round from Siena. That is one. We talked about their different strategies that have worked out pretty well. The strategy that won't work is sending your bomb out by itself into a bomb site, complete with 3 CTs ready to take on that challenge. So that not happening, that round definitely could have gone the other direction. We've seen Wizard obviously doing some crazy work, and now they're just going hard onto this B site to try to get this bomb down. And it seems like everybody's out of position.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It seems like everybody's out of position, and Tiny T is going to be one to capitalize off of some out-of-position gameplay. JaCrispy picks up Mike Metz as well. Xboth does fall to Mike right before they go down, though. Loki, the next to bite the bullet. There goes Chewy Milk, and Tiny T just completely uncontested in the heavens here.
It seemed like Siena got onto site. They had all the pieces that they needed to get that bomb down, get a little bit of that extra cash. And honestly, they could have walked away from the win with a good post plant, but they just kind of were running around a little confused on site, unable to get that bomb down, unable to deal with the pressure coming in from those different positions. And ultimately falling, as you mentioned, Tiny T a couple times, just doing work from heaven with that FAMAS, just making it really difficult for Siena to find their footing. And around it was pretty chaotic.
I think chaotic's a good word for it. That was a I'll call that a one of a kind round. You know, very nobody felt like they were in the right spot. They were all just kind of moving the best they could. 1-for-1 trade already, but Exboth is the one to clean it up. USA, they've got the numbers advantage, but Exboth might go, yeah, might be in for a rude awakening and will be taken down by Wizark and Chewy Milk. Loki picks up to Crispy. The bomb plant comes through, and a round that started great for USA, all of a sudden back in favor of Siena.
And Loki doing some great work to take down Lupicio. That means the op is off the board, and we're back to Tiny, who did, again, have that insane amount of impact as we were thinking about that last round. But a FAMAS against 3 AKs is a pretty tough order, although we've certainly seen greater plays from him over the course of the last couple of weeks. But Wizard says no, gets the kill through the smoke, and Siena is once again back on the winning side of that round, taking a decisive B victory and keeping the rounds as expensive as they can possibly make them for USA.
Yeah, and I think we're in a scenario where, you know, if you can find those extra expensive rounds, that's just going to be all the better for your team. Because sometimes, you know, you're like, oh, great, we got an expensive round. We can really make them buy it. But if you're in a game as close as this one, every round that's expensive is more and more crucial than the. So I really think this is a positive startup here. A lot closer than it was on Vertigo, excuse me. Now we see it's close as heck once again. It's going to be a 4v4.
And Soji is just running with that momentum, and I think this is going to be one of the better opportunities for USA to just make every round uncomfortable. Because if you find these comfort positions, you know, getting flanks or anything that you might is certainly a preferred position, especially if you're down several people, or in this case two. So they probably will just try to get a couple frags here to try to take some of those rifles out of the hands of Siena. As you can see, their money's pretty low, so every rifle definitely makes a big difference, and Tiny might be the first to do so.
Might be the first to do so, and will be. Mike Metz falls. Chewy Milk is going to be able to find that kill onto Soju, but Siena, they win it. Tiny T gets caught out by OCU there, and Siena, they've now doubled the score once again, 6-3.
And they're starting to improve the general issue, I think, that we saw in Vertigo, where we weren't really seeing rounds being traded so much as people just getting rolled over and then rolling over. And that was a particular challenge for both sides. So this time it's a little bit more balanced. You know, we've got a 2-to-1 round ratio, and these rounds are going back and forth. Economies are staying in relative check, and we're seeing some aggression that's making pretty good rounds out of each one. And certainly the T is just making great entrances onto the B site so far.
Siena, I think a big difference for Siena here from what we saw last time is they're going for such immediate plants, such aggressive plants, just storming in, trying to get the plant as quickly as possible. And I think that's been kind of a positive outlook for them. Almost an exact tie-up here in terms of HP, 112 to 110. It's really going to come down to who finds that first elim. A very slow push, but Crispy finds Chewy Milk, and all of a sudden things are looking bleak for Loki. They might be able to turn this one around if they're lucky. It looks like they may just be hiding in the corner, and it looks like the cleanup crew will come through. PCO might be able to defuse. Yeah, they've got time. They're going to put that defuse away.
It's hard when you don't have the music, but not having a kit is not good. But they are able to bring it back. Lupicio able to play hero that round in the refrag, as Loki is doing his darndest to try to keep those rounds in favor of Siena. So now we see momentum swing back the other way. The difference being that in comparison to some of the other rounds, the Siena side is able to get a full buy. So you see OCU staying on the scout, trying to make a big impact in distance, but generally playing up close rather than, you know, seeing more of that effort towards long, as an example. And then on the side of USA, they're continuing to opt for FAMASs as opposed to saving up for other rifles, which is just kind of another testament to how precarious their economic situation is at this point.
Yeah, and the economics is what, as we have said many times before, is what this is all going to come down to one way or another. It's going to be all about that econ. How many weapons can you buy? How strong are they? So on and so forth. OCU, speaking of strong weapons, has that AWP online. I'd love to see some action with it. I feel like we haven't seen the AWP nearly as much in this second series as we had our first series earlier.
Yeah, it's just Lepicio that's had the op so far. OCU's got the scout, so not quite as effective, but he has been known to click some heads with that rifle. So still, when you're doing 67 damage or so with a body shot off of that, it's still pretty effective, but it does really, really depend on him being true with his aim. And we're seeing Soju come in with a flank and they don't see it coming, but they
Oh,
don't care. Chewy says, I don't care. Try to sneak
somebody,
up on us. We're going to take
yeah.
care of it.
Somebody sees it coming. Like you said, they took care of that tried and true. They were able to find some great value off the back of that. And at the end of the day, value is what CSGO is all about. Now another bomb plant coming out from Mike. Not nearly as fast as the ones we've seen earlier today, but still getting the bomb plant is what it is all about. You get the extra credits whether you win or lose the round. You planted the bomb and it matters.
And being aware of their economic situation, it looks like USA is widely choosing to save the rifles that they have with the armor and the M4 and AK, all going to be potentially huge in the coming rounds. So I would expect that if they're going to try to play around them next time, they probably won't buy too much around it, just because we do have
Right.
some players like Soju, for example, on $0, which means that they're going to have to double save no matter what. This is at least going to give them the opportunity to do some damage and try to get something out of it as the Siena side starts to string together a couple rounds.
Get to be down to $0. I mean, that's gonna hurt, right? That's definitely not something you want in a scenario like this one. However, I'm just glad that we're getting another close game, especially because that did happen earlier where we had a 16-0. So I'm stoked that we're getting at least some positivity, some combat here.
Yes, especially because unfortunately we are not going to have a third game
Oh
today
yes.
on our stream, as St. Peter's unfortunately lost one of their players and was unable to find a substitute in time for the match, just like unfortunate circumstances of OCU's Molly. So this will be our last map of the night, and Siena and USA really trying to make it count.
Yeah, trying to put on a show, make up for that third slot that, like we talked about, unfortunately, will not be utilized too effectively here tonight. Either way, this has just been the tale of two teams, right? So far, it's just been back and forth. Siena seems like they're able to scrape out on top of this a little more often than they were on Vertigo. This is their map pick after all, so it makes sense they'd be doing just a little bit better, and it's really working out well. OCU able to find Soju there, and the pressure is just constantly on here. University of South Alabama, I feel like they're really struggling with engagement just a little more consistently than they were on Vert.
It feels for sure like Siena's a lot more comfortable at this point than they were, I think, even any point that I can think of on Vertigo, just sort of based
Right.
on their actions. And I think that's coming down to the fact that because they're able to keep USA to such a low economic status, and therefore their equipment is never great, they're able to understand that they're going to win these fights when they're up against, a FAMAS or a P250 or something like that. That being said, they are doing damage here. So again, trying to take as many rifles out of the hands as they can, while Chewy is over here planting the bomb. So it's probably still going in the direction of Siena for this round. But as I say that, they now have rifles, although they don't have armor, so it's going to make the aim punch a little bit difficult to deal with as they potentially go to retake this. But if I'm them, honestly, I take these rifles and I leave it. I don't want to take this
I
because
agree.
it's a tough situation to be in. And I'm looking at 3 AKs. Like, why would you want to give that up?
Yeah, keeping the rifles right now would just be a blessing in its own right.
Oh, but they're
Engaging.
going for it.
Engaging. I mean, it doesn't feel like sloppy. Like, I get why they would go for it, but I hope to stay away. JaCrispy falls to a grenade. Probably the first we've seen all night, actually, where the grenade itself gets the kill. You lose an AK, you might lose a couple more. The bomb goes off, but tell the
I feel like that was a huge mistake by USA there to even think about going for that. It's one thing if you've got armor, you did have the numbers advantage, but they had 3 AKs. They know that their economic situation is bad. And, not that this is at all the same level that I'm in when I'm playing matchmaking, but you see this time and time again where CTs get stuck in this loop where they look at their economic situation and they say, well, I've got a little over $4,500. I'm going to buy a FAMAS. I'll get my utility and whatever. And while the FAMAS is a reasonable gun, if you're getting headshots all the time, it's really difficult just in a straight up gunfight to win against an AK, which of course is cheaper than an M4 and therefore more ubiquitous in terms of use. So that is one of the things that I would have liked to see USA just take a moment and say, okay, we're going to string maybe 2 saves together just to get a better economic situation. But now they're dealing with those circumstances several rounds into it, and we're looking at a potential 10-5 or 11-4 situation for Siena.
Again, I'm not sure if that qualifies as a sunken costs fallacy, but it's got to be close. I mean, it's a very
It feels
similar
that way.
vibe.
That's a great
Yeah.
use of that term.
Thank you, thank you. I didn't know. I only use it when I talk about ultimates, and this game doesn't have any of those. So I definitely think that that is something to keep an eye out on as well. Is yeah, like you said, just kind of that redundancy, like I talked about earlier. It's the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And Siena right now, no, excuse me, USA right now, it feels like they're kind of just running it back every single time, and it is yet to work even once.
In some cases, that seems totally possible, especially if you have a situation where, like, if we were talking about like the Maris versus Marquette Mirage map, to me, if Marquette loses a round and their economic situation is kind of in question, they can feel pretty confident that, just sort of based on the straight up momentum of that situation, that they could come and do that. But that's just not been the case here because the skill gap
Right.
just not quite as well. I shouldn't
Large.
say the skill gap. The momentum gap is not quite as significant. So every time USA is trying to do that, they're just running into these situations where Siena's better equipped. They're just getting some of the better trades in the different positions that they've been in across the map. And the CT side is just not able to string together a significant amount of hardware to put up a reasonable front. And besides that, we continue to see them getting caught out on the A side of the map, where you see several of these battles over by the half wall, very little going on in long, and ultimately just losing some of these things before the map even gets started. And almost every round, Siena ends up back on the B side after getting all those early picks on A. So this is a map where I think USA honestly has just struggled to adapt to what Siena is
Yeah.
doing, even though it's pretty repetitive from round to round. And that's putting them in this really difficult position where, if they're able to bring out this fifth round for them before they switch halves, that's still a huge climb for them
Yeah.
to play off of from the T side, which can be the more difficult and momentum based side for this particular map.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're spot on. Maybe, like you said, they put a fifth one away, but even if they do, they've got to find five more, and then after that, that's just to tie up the series, right? That's not to put a win away or anything. So realistically, I think there is quite the mountain to climb if you are a USA player or if you're rooting for USA. I think both these teams are going to walk away 1-1 today. Just realistically, from the statistics we've seen up to this point, that's what it feels like we're going to be looking at.
But we never know. Something could
True.
something absolutely crazy could happen. Maybe in this timeout, they're talking about some black magic that's gonna make this whole thing turn on its head.
He said, "All right, turn your
Which
wall hacks on." No, I'm just kidding.
hey,
Nobody's cheating.
there's no cheating in this. We use anti-cheat. Thank you,
We
Face
do.
It, for
It's
that.
true.
Trying to sow doubt in our league here.
I promise. I promise. We literally watch video games. But he was cheating. Notice, but University of South Alabama probably wishing they had a couple of cheats right now. So things are leaky here. Siena College up by 6. I mean, we're almost out of the first half. This is the seeds of doubt have been sown for USA. They're really struggling here, and that's so fascinating because they were able to clutch out that win on Vertigo. Excuse me. Now Lepicio, desperate to find that comeback, takes out low key in the first 5 seconds of the round.
I think that's the type of result, obviously, that you're hoping for in the previous rounds. And I'm a little surprised, honestly, that Lepicio has gone back after that time and time again. He's been shut down more times than he's had success. But this is the round, if any of them, to be successful with. So it's good to see that. So they have a little bit more control of that position. And Soju able to win the battle against Wizard, which is one of those key players that we continue
Yeah.
to see both in our kill feeds and in our hearts. And now we have Soju just kind of taking ownership of that B bomb site, and now we have Siena for one of the first times in quite a while at a man advantage or a man disadvantage. Excuse me.
Yeah, and like you said, first time in forever it seems that we are seeing that man disadvantage here for Siena. However, we've seen them turn these around a couple of times, even on the last map, even heading into this one. They have keep themselves on top of the engagement. Yeah, they're already double digits. I mean, they're only 6 rounds short of walking away. USA, they get the side swap after this, and maybe that's kind of the last crucial moment they can really turn things around is during that side swap.
It is still really kind of silly to me how every round, no matter what, with the exception, I think maybe 2 out of this entire half, we always end up back at the B bomb site,
Always.
one way or the other. So in this time around, I think everything that we talked about in that timeout has come true here. Where if Lepicio gets that early fight, then they have a great position to continue on later into the round. But so often Siena would take that early pick, move the momentum over to Siena, and then everything would just be completely guffed.
Yeah.
So we walk away in this situation where USA is able to bring it back and take that 5th round, the 15 round, and the last of the half. And now as they come into this next half as the T side, they're going to have to find some strategy that is maybe more risky than they would be willing to take just to get back some of that momentum, because this this pistol round is going to be crucial if they're going to have a hope of bringing this map back. And again, that'll be USA on the T side with Siena on CT.
Oh my god, could you imagine if there was a second knife round and you got to pick your side again? That would be
I would
awful.
hate my life.
That would be horrible.
No.
No, I will not speak that into
That's
existence.
a no.
That is certainly not something I think anybody wants to be dealing with. And speaking of things people don't want to be dealing with, so certainly does not deal with those bullets in his body. Lapicio, the next to go, headshot down from Mike Metz. Like I said, this is the moment that USA really needs to turn things around, and they're desperately trying to do so, but the player deficit is already so aggressive. Crispy has a pistol and a dream, able to find 2. It's 9 health, 66. Into Crispy cannot do it. Mike Metz will be able to find that kill. More than enough time to make sure this bomb does not go off. And Siena College, they are top in those double digits with 11.
A nail biter of a round there. I really thought that with the way things were going, those trades were a little bit of an extended fight. You know, we saw some of those pistols being clicked quite a few times as we got later into the bomb plant timer there. But ultimately, Siena is able to come away from that and put USA in this difficult position where they did get the bomb down, so they're able to force. You see the Glio and a couple of those MAC-10s, which I would expect to probably not have a huge impact, but we also see a lot of P90s on the side of Siena, so they might be running into just a slew of bullets in a very quick end of the round.
I think the P90 is an underrated gun. Just going to put that out there. I think it's a little better than people give it credit for, and low-key is going to help me prove that point.
Loki making a big effort there, and I see you smoking through the smoke. Oh, man. I don't have words for that. That was
we're both speechless at least.
That was a lot. I think that was a good example of what we've seen in different maps and different scenarios, not specific to this matchup, where there is not as much post-plant confidence as we might expect to see in at different levels. And that's okay, it happens, but it has been the difference maker in this map several times, where in this case, USA just unable to find confidence in their post-plant positions, despite getting the bomb down pretty early, but having to defend from so many angles, from so many people still up and around, and able to pull the trigger. It becomes pretty difficult for them to make this go their direction.
Siena College, they're going to find Soju caught out with a molly there, drops on a 55 HP, so not quite dead, but that's one of those situations where it's like, oh, the damage has been done, like there's really not much you can do to turn that around. It's going to make you're going to take a lot less bullets there, and Expo is going to be able to equalize, takes OCU out, so USA, they have the numbers advantage once again. Crispy, not the best luck with the throwables there, but the second one, certainly charm. Keeping it alive. Siena College, they put this one away like they are desperately trying to do. This could really be the beginning of the end for USA.
Mike doing huge work with just an MP5 there, although answer from JaCrispy onto Loki brings it back to a position where they have a slight HP advantage, and they're going to make a run for the B site. So again, feeling a lot like watching Siena play there for a moment. True Milk unable to get the cross, which means that USA is going to get the bomb down, but that nade, oh, JaCrispy, not quite enough HP to survive that, and that means the bomb is down on site. Oh no!
Second time JaCrispy has died to a grenade on this map. That has been an unfortunate repetition, so to speak, an unfortunate thing I've seen happen twice.
That is not the superlative that you want to end the match with for any reasons, but they're gonna try. Xboth getting a great kill on a Wizard, one of the bigger names on the Siena side, as we're gonna see the last two. With less than 100 HP between the two of them on both fronts, trying to make something out of it. Xbox making a big difference. Lupicio, just run, man.
Clutch.
Just run, brother.
Oh! I didn't think it was winnable. I gotta be honest. I was bluffing. I was blowing smoke, so to speak. I definitely thought that was a lost round, but just barely. I was able to clutch that one out.
Here we see Mike having that great impact with the MP5, being a huge difference in the early part of that round. And when we think about the longer term implications of this, Sienna still have 4 rounds to close out before they can do that. We saw this type of situation on Vertigo, where all of a
Right.
sudden those rounds are going in the opposite direction, and we end up with an overtime situation. And it could totally be possible for USA to do that, especially because we see the CTs obviously on a save round here with only a little bit of head armor and a scout between the lot of them.
PCO finds that kill, so we're down to 4v3, and like you said, USA, they may have found that positive momentum, that time to come back to life, so to speak. Wizark also goes down, 4v1. Okay, yeah, now it's officially a 4v1. Caught out in the bottom here. OCU finds a kill, will not find any more. That is the second round in a row. Momentum kicking back up for USA.
And props to CU there for being one of the impact players of today. Overall, it's a name that we've talked about quite a bit. And a lot of cool stuff going on in terms of what he's been able to pull together. Now he's going to pull out the scout again as we see the CTs going into a bye. They'll be relatively well equipped for the task at hand, with still quite a good cushion for them compared to where USA is currently.
Yeah, certainly so. And OCU has the AWP making an appearance with it. It's going to be what I'll call a courageous move, but we've seen it work out well before, so I wouldn't be surprised to see it work out well again. Already, though, Wizark down, such a crucial player. I mean, currently, the least amount of eliminations in lobby other than Soju, so second lowest coming out from Wizark is just not what we would expected after that first match.
And here we started to see Tiny coming alive. He's been, that name that if we see him a lot on the kill feed, that means generally good things for USA. That type of double team situation and around Khan trying to lay some of those traps for the CTs is how they're going to have to continue to play if they want to win this. And this is one of the first times we're seeing a proper execute onto the A site. I think minus maybe once or twice on the side of Siena. So, hey, nice to see a little bit of diversity.
Yeah, I mean, wait a minute. This map has an A site? That's really how I feel right now. It's just how this. I think we saw Siena go to it twice, and now we're seeing USA go to it once. So out of the 20 rounds, third time we've seen A site, I believe. So just very not quite as popular as its counter.
And it looks like while Chewy's lurking around, he's probably best served not going too hard on this because the money on the CT side is bad.
Oh.
But maybe he's going to say, forget about that and just take this down 1v3, although that is a tall order considering the amount of players still on the board and the fact that he does not seem to know where they are. And only 9 HP is going to narrowly avoid death by grenade, but he's wisely going to decide that is not worth the price of admission. Continue running off to the B site and try to survive for another day.
Yeah, that was another one of those. Oh
no.
Never mind. Never. Oh man, scratch everything I was about to say. That is just, as a wise man once said, that is just no bueno. That is absolutely awful.
Yeah. And now the Siena choice that we have in front of them is, are they going to fall into the same sort of economic trap that we saw from USA when they were on the CT side? Right now, they don't really have much of a choice but to save because they don't have enough money to purchase, basic utility and such, except for the flash that they're using for this rush. But next round, they'll still be kind of at a light buy situation. So depending on how this round goes, they may want to just take one more quick break and try to get those M4s and ops out as opposed to the Thomases and SMGs.
Well, the PCO will find that kill onto Chewy Milk, so this is just looking good. USA, you called it, man. You hit the nail right on the head that it was just, this is exactly what we saw in Vertigo earlier. A team was in the lead, and then all of a sudden, people started crawling back desperately.
It's interesting that they're having started out trading rounds back and forth.
Yeah.
Much more, like we had that 2-to-1 ratio that we talked about a little bit earlier in favor of Siena there. But it's changed a lot. Hopefully South Alabama doesn't become their own worst enemy in those last couple of moments. But now we're in a position where USA is able to string multiple rounds together, which means that they're able to build up a little bit of that economy. You see a pretty comfortable margin on all of those, except for Crispy, who had to buy back from that last round's death. But ultimately, they're doing pretty well And JaCrispy, not a name that we had talked a lot about in previous weeks, really stepping up here as the kill leader for the USA side.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. Not a name that we've had the opportunity to talk about as much as others, so to speak, but it has just been Crispy trying to save the day. 21 eliminations, post in lobby. Mike Matt's only one behind, but Crispy, like I said, it feels, you know, you can feel that desperation of just wanting to succeed.
I admire their resilience. Both sides never giving up, and I think that that has served both of them really well. It certainly made a much more entertaining spectacle than could be the case on some of these matches. And I love to see the fact that USA is starting to look a little bit more towards that A's side, because I feel like it's just not gotten the love that it deserves.
Yeah, like we talked about earlier, everybody seems to hate A for some reason. I don't know. I'm not sure you do either, but just not a popular location, not a popular tourist site today. I'm not sure what the personal beef is with it, but I'm glad we're seeing it at least more. USA, they're looking good to take this round as well. The bomb has been planted. We see Wizard finally pick up a kill for the first time in a while, just now hitting those double digits for you know, second to last person to do it. But bomb's been planted. USA, they're looking to walk away with another round win. I mean, there could only be 2 rounds between this in just a moment.
And it does seem, although Siena is now on site, they're running really short on time, so they're going to have to see these frags open really quickly, and their spacing is not very favorable for that to happen.
Spacing not as favorable as they may want. Tiny T finds the key. Wizard picks up Tiny T, but Wizard the next to go down. The AWP still available as well. I believe somebody grabbed it, and USA, they've done it. We're only 2 rounds separate between these teams tying up once again.
And that's kind of what I was talking about a little bit with some of those economic traps, because if you're not allowing yourself enough dollars on the CT side to also purchase utility, those post-plant situations become much more difficult. Because if you could go back to that round just thinking in your mind, you know, if they had had a molly or a smoke or any number of counter utility to kind of protect their entrance, they may have seen a much different entrance onto the site. And then certainly as they're going for the potential fake or something like that, the defuse is a little bit easier of a mathematical proposition. But just as we say that, Mike comes out huge with a 5-7, Wizard with the MP9, and now it's 2v2, although it certainly favors the T side in terms of the equipment and HP.
Yeah, 78 HP between the two players left on Siena, 200 on the side of USA. But if Siena, if they can just hit their shots forehand, you know what I mean? Like if they can just find their shots and get a couple of good kills here or there, they can turn this one around. The bomb plant comes through, guarantee additional credits for USA. I think we're going to 12-11 here. I think we're going to see this almost tied up. Wizard, though, finds JaCrispy from a very long distance. They're able to pick up that momentum. And, oh, there goes Lapicio. No! Oh, my goodness.
Pretty sure that we're going to put that one on you, buddy.
8 HP. Yeah, we call that in the business. We call that a caster curse. Sorry about that, USA.
Interesting. This is exactly where you want to be if you're Siena. You want to claw back as many of these rounds, make them painful, make them hard mentally, and just crush your opponents with every aspect of the battle that you can, because they're 3 rounds away from winning this and taking their first map this season. So that's a huge thing for them to consider as they're trying to make the most out of the remaining moments that they have in this game.
Yeah, the remaining moments may be dwindling a little bit faster than USA was ready for, but Soju finds OCU. It's going to be a great opportunity to pick up the speed, pick up the momentum, move forward. Let's see if there's any action coming out from USA, but no, it's Wizard getting hyper-aggressive, finds one, knows somebody's around that. Will be able to pick up that second one onto Lapicio as well. Tiny T finds Mike. Loki picks up Tiny T off the back, and it's JaCrispy and Expo, a 2v3 matchup. I think Siena, they're going to be able to find this 14th point. The defuse comes through, but JaCrispy with the clutch, able to take out 2, and all of a sudden 33 HP in a dream. Not sure what Wizard can do here. They're going to have to hit their shots, but it's the nade. Wizard picks up Expo, goes for the defuse. Pros don't fake, but you should have that time. USA putting their point on the board.
That was definitely the scenario that we were talking about earlier with the importance of the post-plant utility.
Yes.
But that missed smoke made such a huge difference. While he did get that first kill, it just becomes really difficult when you know that there's another person alive. There's so many angles that they can come from. And that was a great effort from the side of USA to just continue to play out that clock as much as possible. We saw some great frags from Siena as well, ultimately just putting them in a position where they're losing that another one and putting them a little bit closer to that danger of potentially losing their grip on this map.
losing their grip on the map and possibly their grip on reality as well. USA, they've got
Oh,
some of
man.
that mental fatigue. We are on round. I mean, if we include last game, what are we on, like round 58 or something insane like that? There's been a lot of CS:GO that has been played up to this point, and these players, the physical, the mental, like it's really got to start weighing on them this deep into it.
It does. It does absolutely. And we're seeing some great plays from Wizard there as we're coming to, the potential threat to their win on this, and he's stepping up to make a huge effort. But Tiny, the leader from the USA side, in terms of frags, coming back and just making a huge difference when it counts. And when I say frags, I mean impact players, because of course we come back to our boy JaCrispy, who's had a hell of a map.
Yeah, a hell of a map indeed. I mean, JaCrispy has been on their A game, I think still, yeah, still top frag in lobby. Mike Metz 23, and we see Crispy with 25. So really doing a great job so far. Really trying to keep the dream alive for USA. And this team in particular, USA, just now that I've seen them, a couple of times, we can definitely talk about their ability to adapt, their adaptation, their growth as a team is something that I think, with more practice and more gameplay, could really set them apart here in the EGFC.
I agree, and I think this is sort of we've seen really great hints of these players' abilities and the fact that they're still a ways off from their skill ceiling by any means, uh,
Absolutely.
and can make a pretty great run before the end of the season. So we've got quite a few weeks left across both the fall split, which we're in week 3 of, with 5 left to go after this. And then when we get into the spring and have another 8, we'll probably have a couple more teams joining the league at that point. So there'll be a little bit of diversity, a little bit more of an opportunity to take the fact that they'll have basically 3 months of practice together to make a big difference in how they play about it. And so every round that they win, every map that they win in this case is going to make a big difference in kind of positioning them best for ultimately the conference and national playoffs.
National playoffs is of course what everybody's shooting for. That is the big leagues, so to speak. That is these are all fighting for. Soju and Lepicio fighting hard for it. They're gonna be able to get some great damage there. Here comes Chewy Milk from around the corner, takes out both of them. Tiny T gets a kill. Gonna basically be a 1v1 here. If Tiny T can just get this kill onto Mike Metz, they can really tie this back up. But
Oh,
Deep Fuse comes through, can't react fast enough. You find Mike, but you had to find that kill a little bit faster. Siena now on match point.
that was a great effort by Tiny to try to save that round from the jaws of defeat, as we've said a couple times so far today. But it was a great play by Siena to just, play for time. That's something that you hear all the time in matchmaking. You just waste as much time as you can because you've only got 40 seconds after that bomb is planted, and that makes a huge difference as they're considering every potential way to make sure that they stay alive. Now we're on match point with Siena in favor this time. So unless USA is able to string together a couple opening frags here, we're running into a situation where they're just out of time.
Yeah, the clock is ticking. They're racing more against the clock than they are against Siena right now. USA, they've just got to get this one figured out. A pretty aggressive Molly, I don't think is going to find anything to Crispy. Taking a lot of damage already, pays the price of their life for it, almost takes out OCU, and OCU, no, is still not gone down. Mike Metz is going to find a great value of kills, and yeah, USA, they get a little bit overzealous. They storm the barn too aggressively in Siena. It is just a firing squad.
This is South Alabama's best bet of winning this particular round is in this man Tiny T, who's just had repeatedly in maps versus maps one of the bigger names that we see on that kill feed. So he's trying to play a little bit of ring around the rosy. The bomb is unfortunately down, so he's in this situation where he's gonna have to find some of these early
No
kills.
way!
He goes to the knife and he sacrifices the game. I know he was trying for style points, but man, that's a big gamble when there's not really any upside to it other than being able to end that game with a kill feed and a knife. So
I'll be honest, I respect the BM. I'll say it. I respect it. I think they realized 1v4. You probably weren't winning that. You might as well go out with a bang.
you're right. If you know that it's over and you're just going for it, like why not meme your way out of the lobby? But that is kind of a fitting end for this series. I think it was our closest of the day by
No
far, with
doubt.
Marquette and Marist being very much so a back and forth. Kind of an unexpected result, if we're being honest, with Marist able to take the first round off of Marquette for the season. And then in this case, we had two teams that were without any map wins coming into this, ending the day with 1-1. So a day full of firsts for everybody and a pretty great opportunity. So I think we're gonna kick it to a quick break and come back with an interview with somebody from one of our two teams here, which I have to figure out because we haven't tabulated that score yet based on rounds. So we'll come back to it and we'll be, excited to hear from whoever that is about their strategy and about how that game has gone. So stick around. We'll be right back.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome back. Still Septilence but this time we get to Pango, which that's gonna sound like, oh, who's Pango? It's Mike Metz in game. Made a huge, especially on Overpass toward the end of it. So I'm gonna call you Pango because I cast you in Smash all the time. That's what I know you stick to it. But Pango, tell me, map one is pretty close. You guys are super close across the board, and just really losing that overtime. What did you kind of do between the maps to come out so strong, especially in the beginning of Overpass?
We definitely just took a second, really just slowed down, breathe a bit. We knew what we were capable of. We saw, obviously, we went to overtime in Vertigo, so we knew these guys were on our level. I mean, our past few matches didn't go so well, so we knew we were kind of outclassed there. But we knew these guys we could handle, so we just had a positive mindset, just did what we've done in practices, and it paid off.
I was kind of curious on Vertigo. One of the comments that we made as we were casting, there seemed to be like some very obvious momentum swings, right? It was 5-0 and then it was 7-5. And then that just kind of continued going back and forth with a lot of rounds being strung together. But when we went over to Overpass, it was much more back and forth. There was a lot more kind of equality across the strength of rounds, we'll call it. So was there anything in particular that you could identify that led to how maybe your strategy changed or otherwise from that, or was it really just sort of the nature of how your individual players were performing?
We definitely started to switch it up more in Overpass. Vertigo is a map that we practice more. So Overpass, we really don't have set strategy and stuff. We really, I mean, we're a new team. Our team wasn't a thing until October, really. So we haven't really had all the time to put like the practice in every map that we could have so far. So Overpass, we were kind of just almost not really winging it, but just kind of making stuff up as we went and just playing how we normally would from how we've learned to play the past couple of years, just all our CSGO experience. And we're just kind of making rounds happen. I think we were switching around our positions a lot more in Overpass. Vertigo, we were kind of keeping it more stagnant. I know and Wizard mostly were playing on A site for the entire game. And then on Overpass, we had a lot more people moving around, switching sites, going to connector and stuff like that.
I've definitely noticed that Wizard was a name that we were calling out a lot, especially on the B site for Vertigo, and certainly seeing a lot of impact over on Overpass as well. Is that sort of something that you normally see out of them, or is there a lot of that being kind of shared around across your whole team?
I think our team's pretty balanced. We've seen past couple of weeks we've had a lot of difference in the scoreboard. Some people have been up, some people have been down. So we don't really have a dominant player. I'd say we're all kind of equal, which is what you want in a team. You can all rely on someone. If it's a clutch situation, it's not like, oh, this guy's up, it's going to be rough. We all know that we're all capable of making things happen.
It's great to hear. Really excited to see where you've gone. I mean, obviously, you've got your first map win under your belt now. You have the position, I think, to take on to it. I think between St. Peter's and Niagara, you've got certainly a good chance of taking over the midfield and make sure that you're, coming into a position looking, obviously the rest of the split and going into next split starting in February. Are there any things that you're currently trying to focus on in terms of like gaps that you've identified in your game or things that you think are the most important to kind of deal with over the coming weeks?
We definitely want to increase our map pool. As you saw last week, we got counterpicked to Ancient, which we were kind of expecting no one to ever pick in the entire history of this league. And then we see that we got Ancient, and we're like, well, this is a problem. And we kind of
Yeah.
just got walloped on Ancient. So that's something we definitely got to work on. We know the core maps, but there's definitely some weak spots that we got. Obviously, we got the two bans, so we're not going to be completely caught off guard every week. But there is a couple of maps that we definitely are much weaker on than our other maps.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to ask you one question, a little more out of the game than kind of living in it. Is there anybody you want to thank or any shout out while we've got you here?
Definitely got to shout out the whole team. We got Wizard, aka Aiden, OCU, also known as Frank. We got Adam, and that was low key, and we got Topher running Chewy Milk. We also got our subs, Fahad and Colby. So just shout out to those guys. And that's pretty much our whole team. We don't really have many subs. We kind of barely got this team roster put together. We really got everyone recruited pretty much in one day, so we got lucky with that. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Pango, thank you so much for joining us, man. Great work tonight, as always.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Yeah, of course, you as
You as
well.
well.
And with that, folks, that does bring tonight to a close. So thank you, everybody, so much. A huge shout out to all four of the teams we had the opportunity to hang out with and cast tonight, and all the players that we did get to Huge shout out to Time to Light, our producer in the back line. And I think that's everything. We'll be back on CSGO. So see you folks around then. Follow us on Twitter if you want. They're listed right below us. Or don't. That's cool. Anywho, check your posture, drink some water. Don't forget to love each other. We'll see you guys next week. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Good night,
And
everybody.
these replays. And enjoy these replays too.